So at the start of any project, reference is always a super important step. So go ahead and take the time to download the images or find the images that are going to be used for figuring out both your design and then also your proportions and also detail for the project that you're going to be creating. For the project that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be inspired by turtles. So I've done some searches and found some images that I found interesting. One thing that I did was made a reference folder and call that images, and I'm just throwing all the images in there beforehand. Now with PureRef, it's possible that you can just drag directly from a web browser into PureRef, but I'm just downloading the images that I found freehand just so we can show you this part of the demo. So I'm going to select all the images, Control A, and then just drag them directly into PureRef like this. And you can see what it's going to do. It's going to load up each one of the images. Now I'm going to take the scroll wheel on my mouse and I can scroll that, and then if we hold down Z and left mouse up and down, that will zoom in and out on our canvas. If we hold down Alt, we can click and then drag this around on here. So I think it did a pretty good job of laying these things out for the most part. Okay, before we get into this too far, I did want to tell you about some of the hotkeys that they have within the program that I think are going to make your life a bit easier when using this program. So hopefully you can take a screenshot of this and then just save this off or using PureRef. But basically to scale an image, you can see if we select it, we can click and drag it. They have added for the newer versions these handles, and they also have, if you go to the outer corners, you can rotate an image. You can hold down Shift while you do that as well. If you want to hit Control Alt and then left mouse button, you can also zoom in and out that way. So again, this is the way that you would zoom in and out before they added these new handles to the images. You can just click and drag on it to kind of move it around. If you want to rotate the image, you can hold down Control and drag it. And again, we have the things on the corners. If we put this here, hold down Shift. So if we're using Control and then clicking on the image, you can add Shift to it to snap it to these different increments that you see here. So then cropping an image. So if we hold down C, we can crop, hold down C, click and drag, and that will crop in on the image. If you want to reset the crop that you see here, you can do Control and Shift, and then Control Shift C. Sorry about that. That will uncrop the image. So C to crop it, and then Control Shift C. That will uncrop the image at that point. And if you want to flip the image, you do Alt and then Shift and then drag left or right. Okay, so I'm just going to leave you here with this image. Take a look at it, write these things down for your notes. Go ahead and take a screenshot of it, whatever you want. But this should help you through this stage and help you understand how I'm manipulating the images from here on out. There's not really tons that I do with PureRef past this point because there's just not that much that I do need to do with it. The one thing that I could show you is you can export a screenshot at the end of this. So if you right click within here and you go to save, you can do an export and you can do scene like this. You can tell it it's going to be a PNG, something like that. So let me do this. I'll just give it a name like this, and it's going to give you a width and a height. You can change these if you want. This should keep this within proportion to each other. Now the background, I want to crank up the quality of this background. That'll choose whatever this color is that you see here, and if you turn on borders, it's going to keep that as well. I think I would suggest this. If you don't have that on, it will export it out as a transparent. So if we export this thing out, you can see that's going to be a really large image, but I'm kind of a little bit concerned about how it's going to export this out. I'm going to open it in Photoshop and then take a look at it. So I'll hit export for that and then just wait for it to finish up. So here's where the file was kicked out. I'm going to go ahead and open that. And again, it's going to be a pretty large file for where it was at. And you can see it's kind of based off of maybe how I've pushed this thing around, and so there's some dead space within here. So if I want to save this image, I'm just going to go tap M to put on the marquee tool. Shift M will go between the ellipse and the rectangle. So I want to put it on the rectangle, make sure it's on style normal. I'm just going to click and then drag along through here. Now if I do want to keep this in a 16:9 aspect ratio, then I'm going to do fixed ratio and then do 16:9, and then I can drag along through here just like this. And then I'll say image crop. And if I want to change the image size, I'm going to go to image size. And then let's just put this at, I think pretty high resolution is actually going to be, let's say 4,000 pixels. That's pretty darn pretty darn big. So I'll hit OK for that. It's maybe going to take a second to chew through that, and I'll hold down Control and Alt and then plus and take a look at this, and I'm only at 50. There's 100%. So you can see there's nice resolution to this. I'm just going to hit Control S to save the image, and that should give me everything that I need. But this will put the image in a format that we can share, and you can upload it to various different places like blogs or websites or things like that too. And you can share it along with people in various programs. So that might be kind of important to you. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more and then hold down Alt and then click. I'm just trying to fill up as much of the canvas as I possibly can beforehand. And then now it's up to me to click and drag on these. I can hold down Control and Alt, and I can zoom in on these like this. And if I do Control and let's see, Alt and Shift, sorry about that. If I click on that and kind of just drag across the image like this, it'll flip-flop the image for me if I want. If I want to crop on this, I can hold down C, and I'm just going to crop on this image just a little bit, and then I'm going to rearrange this. So depending on which images that you want to be the larger images, and I would maybe, if you can, go by hierarchy of what you want to be maybe inspired by. I know I'm going to probably maybe take a look at this for some of the cool scales and things like that that I see on there. I think that's really interesting. I thought the face on this definitely looks really interesting, so I'm just clicking and dragging some of these and moving these around. I definitely like the sensibility of some of the forms that I kind of see on here. It's nice and smooth, and there's some really nice detail around the eyes and the mouth on that. So I like that. I don't need all the image, so I can hold down C and then just drag along through here, and that'll crop on that. And I can hold down Control and Alt and then zoom to kind of fill that up within the screen a little bit. And you can see I'm recording in 2560 by 1440, so that's a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. It's the same as 1920 by 1080. And what I want to do with this reference image, because I'm going to be using monitors for my stuff, I'm going to want to build this to that 16 by 9 aspect ratio. So again, I don't need this much of the image. I'll hold down C and I'll crop in on this and then zoom on that a little bit. Okay, and again, Control and Shift will move these back and forth like this. So I think what I'm going to do is put this in a time-lapse mode and then show you what it looks like whenever I'm done with my reference. Okay, after a little bit of time, this will be the final layout that I'm going to be using for the design of this. So you probably won't see this on screen too much, but this will be used as reference off screen, and I'll be taking a look at some of the various different shapes and some of the different patterns that I see here, and this will help inform me for some of the different things that I'm going to go ahead and create. And I think it's really, really important that you do this for yourself as well, and if you just have this off into a different monitor, that'll be great.